Yeah, we can talk about it. I watched Star Wars. Let me load up my dude. My hunter dude. Oh, thanks for that cover fire there.
So, fucking Star Wars. Do you want to go first?
Well,
Or do you just want to have an opening statement? Like, you have your opening statement, I have my opening statement, and then we continue the discussion from there.
okay, I guess that's okay. Well, you know, I saw the film. I waited a little bit, you know, I didn't watch any of the spoilers, even though, you know, it's kind of hard to avoid them, but not so hard for me, because your boy doesn't use Facebook. I rarely go on the internet, and if I want to avoid the internet, it's very easy for me to do so. I don't have a smartphone. Anyone who was talking about it around me, I would shoot that crap down pretty quick. So for the most part, I was spoiler-free. All I knew about the movie was that what everyone else knew was that Mark Hamill's in it, and Star Wars stuff happens. Alright, so... and no one wanted to see it with me over here, which is the messed up part, you know? So I had to, you know, I had to wait until, and I don't want to see it alone again, because I've done that for too many Star Wars movies, and just... it's always been a Star Wars movie where I've been depressed, you know? Like, when I saw Phantom Menace, you know, for the first time alone in the theater when it came out, and I was, I think I was 14 or 15, all pumped, ready to watch this new adventure with all my old friends. Only my old friends weren't there, and the movie wasn't so good. Oh, I got a challenge completed. Oh, there's a public event over here, Brasov.
We'll do the public event, and then I'm gonna transport us to Earth, alright?
Yeah, okay.
Alright, so go ahead, continue.
Well, okay, so Star Wars. Star Wars. My first impression walking out of the theater was, you know, I was okay with it. That was the first thing I thought. I was like, okay. You know, it was like a Larry David moment. Like, okay. Like that. You know, it was, there were, and it wasn't until I got home where I finally had seen the film that I finally opened myself up to the internet and just saw what all the fuss was about, I guess, what everyone was talking about. So I didn't know that, I didn't even know the movie was so mixed with people.
Oh, everyone hates it, bro.
Would you say that it's that far? People hate it?
Everyone fucking hates it, bro.
Yeah.
It's gotten so far that people are saying, Ryan Johnson ruined Star Wars for me, and George Lucas should have directed it. That's how bad it's gotten.
Wow, people are, well, I read a little bit of, like, of that kind of stuff.
George Lucas should have directed it.
Oh, well, the thing ran out. Okay. I gotta get more blight on me. Shit. I'm gonna die. I hate this taking shit.
I'm coming.
Alright, so... yeah, people were generally pretty mixed. From what I understood, they were pretty mixed about it. You know, I guess just, you know, a big part of what the first movie was getting criticism for. When I say first movie, I'm talking about The Force Awakens.
Force Awakens.
Was this idea of nostalgia. Everyone was just like, oh, it was too much like A New Hope. You know, they played it safe. It wasn't bad, but they played it safe. You know, and that's what everyone was criticizing that one for, strangely enough. This movie had a very, very clear message, and it was, you know, it was the death of nostalgia. It was letting go of your, you know, your past, I guess, and embracing what's to be. That was kind of the theme that they were going for. It's kind of a underhanded message about, you know, the direction they were taking it. And, I don't think that's a bad message to have. I do feel as if, that should have been established with the first film. Not necessarily the middle entry, you know? But, I did think it was better than Force Awakens, just for the sake that, there was an unknowable aspect to it when I was watching it, where I wasn't quite sure where they were going. And I couldn't say that about The Force Awakens. The Force Awakens, it was pretty much a very by-the-numbers movie where while I was enjoying it when I watched it at the time, I was like on the edge of my seat. Not that I was on the edge of my seat watching this, but it was still very I was very, very aware that when I was sitting there, I was having that whole, okay, where are we going with this, you know?
Yeah.
And it was nice to feel that again. I don't think I had that impression really watching the other ones, you know, the whatchamacallit. Oh, this light's gonna break in just a second. Does anyone have another? There we go. Oh, we completed the event. Never mind. Alright, well, oh, that's fine for me. That part of it I appreciated. I would say that trying to do something new legitimately, you know. I know a lot of people, when I was on the internet, you know, had their own little... And it's kind of funny when you follow something like this. Everyone's opinion kind of is the same, because they read each other's opinions and they kind of just mirror it. So I don't know how legitimate anyone's actual... like, everything I was looking online, it was the same criticisms, the same problems everyone had with certain scenes. And I knew when I was reading everything, it's like, the problems everyone else had, I didn't have those problems. The scenes that people had problems with, I liked those scenes. You know what I mean? Like, people had problems with the Leia scene. I liked that scene quite a bit. The Mary Poppins scene. You know, that kind of stuff.
I thought it was weird at first.
Well,
like,
I'll tell you.
I'll
tell you why.
I definitely was like, oh, okay, they went that route.
And people talking about, you know, Luke wouldn't do that. Luke, that's not Luke Skywalker. Let's put it into perspective, okay? So, what's the last time? The last time before Force Awakens, the last time we saw these people, and if you were alive at the time, was 1983, okay? You know, when Return of the Jedi came out. I was born in 1983. My parents were in their early to mid 20s when they had me. They went to the theater. They loved Star Wars. They got me a bunch of Star Wars stuff growing up. So I had the VHS. I saw that, by the way. You know.
Yeah.
I got you. That was my experience. I grew up in a Star Wars friendly household. I had the Ewok village. They bought all the toys that came out after Return of the Jedi. So I remember we just having all this stuff growing up from like ages 4, 5. All the stuff was in the house. It had been in the house for years. You know, I watched the movies every day. You know, so I'm very, very familiar with who Luke Skywalker was. I'm very, very familiar with those people. But what happened, right? We fast forwarded. They didn't bring these people back until... What year did Force Awakens come out? 2015? 2014?
15.
Right, it wasn't that long ago, surprisingly. Oh, I'm gonna die. So, okay. So that's... Jesus, this guy with the knives. Death, death, death. Okay, I'm alive. So... You take into account that these people, these characters, are living in real time almost until we get them to see them again in the new movies. All right?
Yeah.
You know how much time that is? Like when you see Leia in Return of the Jedi, she's in her like early 20s, right, or mid 20s, and then when you see them again, they're in, you know, however old they were when, you know, they are now. Because that's how the movies played it. You know, they played it like this is the exact amount of time that's gone by. You know how many personal changes a person goes through in the course of their life? Like, you know, when they get, like, decades go by, they have different experiences, maybe they're not the same people anymore. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of real serious changes that a person will go through. And that's how I looked at it. It was like, of course, Luke might not be the same Luke. You know, he's decades older, he's experienced things, you know, traumatic things, maybe he's been disillusioned, you know, you'll have slips, you know, and I actually appreciated that part of it. I know Mark Hamill wasn't too keen on it, you know, in like interviews and stuff, then that's like one point of contention, but as
When
someone who
people think,
grew up,
oh, Mark Hamill hated it, that means I don't like it.
one of my worst problems with most media in general, in this fan fiction, fan made world that we live in with everything, is that like people don't know how to let things grow with them. That's my problem with everything. And I'll be honest with you, this whole new series of movies that they've been doing, it's there's no way to deny it. It is a fan fiction universe now. I've been saying that. I've been saying it. I've been saying it. You've been hearing it. Just accept it. We're dealing with the fans have control of the mythos, and this is all it's going to be now. Accept that out of the starting gate. Okay. Having said all that, I appreciated that part of it. You know. Now, as for Leia doing the Mary Poppins thing, so and I was talking about this with Kevin, because I was hanging out with Kevin yesterday. Me and Kevin were both Star Wars kids. Me and Kevin both, you know, we did the big wait while we were growing up for the new prequels to come out that were supposedly gonna, you know, bring it all back. Oh shit! This got hit by a jet. Oh my god. These stories were continued. You know, people think just in the movies. No, there were books. There was comics. You know what I mean? They continued this.
Yes, and you.
Right, like there was a whole trilogy of books that were written right after Return of the Jedi, with Luke from Return of the Jedi and Leia and Han at that age that they were. You know, there's a whole trilogy of stories that were written by Timothy Zahn. You know, there was other stories that were written, and you know, no real big time jumps I'm talking about either. Like Leia and Han had children in these books. You know, they had 3 children actually, and there's a whole series of stories that follow the children of Leia and Han. What's interesting is that they cherry pick a lot of the ideas from those books, which is kind of interesting because me and Kevin talked about that too. Like, those books have a whole sequence where one of the Leia Skywalker children turns to the dark side. And there's a whole story about how the other people in the family have to deal with it. Okay, Ben Skywalker, Ben Solo is a character. I think they actually have there's a character named Ben Solo or Ben Skywalker, whatever his name is, in the books. You know, so a lot of that stuff is already technically canon, and it was just cherry picked. You know, obviously it's different in the movies. You know, certain characters are out there that.
I never read you.
Well, it's, you know, I'm just saying, like this, a lot of this stuff wasn't a surprise, and one of the things that is consistently mentioned and reinforced through the series is Leia Skywalker's slow ascension to learning her own abilities. You know what I mean? Where she discovers that she is Force sensitive. Also, she learns how to manipulate the Force, and while she's never quite on the same level as Luke, she is a Force user. There's actually a whole arc in one of the stories where the Emperor is cloned and is, you know, he's brought back, I guess, as like a younger man, like a young Palpatine, with his mind restored, because they, you know, they did some kind of thing where his mind was restored, and he tries to pit the Skywalker children against each other. But, you know, Leia and Luke turn on him, and they use the Force, and they, you know, they destroy him again. For, like, once and for all, like that kind of thing. But I do believe Leia at one point does have a lightsaber, or she uses it, but she is very, very Force sensitive. You know, that scene in the movie, what that told me was that in the time we last saw Leia, you know, from way back on Endor, you know, partying with the Ewoks, and then now, you know, she has honed her ability to use the Force a little bit, so she can't just hear Luke when he's in distress. She can maybe actually, you know, manipulate the Force a little bit. That's not unreasonable for me to assume in all the decades since her brother wouldn't have helped her figure out her, the extent of her powers. Is that what people were complaining about? Like, no, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Like, that's 100% something I can buy. So I was okay with that. I was okay with Luke being the way Luke was. I don't know if I quite understood at the end what happened to him, like why that had to happen. You know what I mean?
I understood that, and I was actually okay with that, 100%.
I mean, I guess what it was is he just got fatigued to the point where he,
yeah.
you know, oh shit, I just got run over by a...
I mean, I didn't like it like that, but I actually liked, you know, he used everything he had. You know?
Yeah, and...
When I was in the theater and I watched that scene, I gotta be honest, I was in the theater and I watched that scene, I was on the edge of my seat. And once he became one with the Force, I was like, oh my god, now I finally understand what happened to Obi-Wan.
Yeah, that's actually a good way to look at it, actually.
I always believed that Vader killed Obi-Wan, but after watching Last Jedi, I was like, oh my god, Vader didn't kill Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan did what Luke just did. He literally became one with the Force. You know, like I fucking loved it. But yeah, like everyone hates like what happened to Luke, and I agree with what you said. And you know, the film's about the next generation of people. That's the whole point of it. But when you think about it from logic and stuff that's already there, what Luke did is normal. I mean, when Yoda failed, what did he do? He became a hermit and he hit on a fucking swamp planet.
I actually very much appreciated the Yoda scenes. That might have been my favorite scene in the whole movie, honestly, if I'm being really honest. Just him showing up and just having that dialogue with him. Like, the movie has a lot of cool scenes, but that was probably the best one for me. It was, to me, right back to a kid watching Empire for the first time where they're just training. You know what I mean? Like, I like that part of it. But, it was also a fair point. It was like, move on, dude. You know, like, you had your time.
Yeah, he literally says it. It's, you know...
I'm still not totally convinced that I needed this in my life. You know what I mean? Like, because a big part of my issue with these movies in general, this is going back to when the first one came out, was that, I mean, the first one again, I mean about Force Awakens, is like, do we really need to come back to this? Are we, you know, ever going to be over Star Wars? And, for the most part, the movies are still trying to just be fun popcorn flicks, you know, so I'm okay with it. Oh, we have another event going on. But what I mean to say is that what the movie did well, it did well, really well. You know what I mean? And I still don't think they're on the same level as the movies I grew up with. Not out of nostalgia. I just think that they're inferior movies by comparison.
Oh, of course.
They are still better than the prequels, and I do not think that Lucas could have pulled this off. I think that time waved bye-bye to him a long time ago. I don't necessarily trust that the fact that this stuff's in the hands of the fans now, and I still don't. But this was better. This was a better step in the right direction. There were some really cool scenes in there, and I think people who have a problem with it are being picky. And I'm not even fully versed with a lot of the other issues are. Like, what else are people saying?
Is people, you know, they watched The Force Awakens, and then they came up with all these conspiracy theories, and then they dwelled on those conspiracy theories for 2 years, and then it was like, oh, Rey doesn't have a fucking backstory. Well, fuck you. Snoke doesn't have a backstory. Well, fuck you. You know, like just because you swindling for 2 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, everyone dwelled on the fact that, oh, everyone has to be important somehow. Like Ryan Johnson basically was like, fuck you. You know, oh, you thought Ray had a backstory? Fuck you. He literally wrote in dialogue for fucking Adam Driver to say, you're no point. I think quote unquote he says, you're not supposed to be here. You have no point. Like, doesn't he say something like that in the throne room? He's like,
basically.
You don't fit here, your parents are nothing, and you don't fit here. Like, he literally says it. That's Ryan Johnson saying, fuck you to all you guys who thought that Rey was Ben Kenobi's daughter or some shit.
And quite honestly, I was actually kind of happy that they did that, because like we don't need to have all these relations. We don't have to have, you know, people saying Snoke was another character. Like, when that happened, right? When, like, that pivotal scene happened, and then he wasn't in the movie anymore.
Oh, they fucking murder him? Yeah, when they drop him all his ass?
Part of me was just relieved, like, okay, he was just another bad guy. You know,
That's all he is,
I
and
prefer
I'm
that.
okay with that. Like, I mean, the galaxy is already small enough where every character fucking runs into each other. We don't need to have everyone's length somehow, you know?
Well, I'll put it to you this way. When I was a kid, right? I'm a kid. There's no other movies but the ones that were currently out, the first 3. I mean, the Emperor shows up. You don't know who he is. He's just a bad guy. He's Darth Vader's boss. That's all you knew about him. He was just a creepy guy in a hood that had a creepy voice, and he was the bad guy. And the movies were fine with that. You know what I mean? It wasn't until the prequels when they started having all this backstory where it lose me. It lost me completely. It was just like, who cares?
Yeah,
You know, like that's not what Star Wars.
Shit.
It's not what Star Wars is supposed to be about. You know, and people who complained about that at the time are the same ones that are saying you got to explain it. It's like, no, it's just a bad dude because it's Star Wars.
I was really okay with that.
This is not Star Trek, okay? This is Star Wars. You're there to watch things blow up.
Now I will say, when I was watching the throne room scene, which is a fucking awesome scene by the way, I was kind of like, oh wow, they're killing off the bad guy in the middle. Like you would think Snoke would die in the next one, or
No, they
by
didn't.
mathematical speaking, you know what I mean? So it was like,
Yeah.
whoa, they just Return of the Jedi him in Empire, you know?
That's kind of what I was saying before. It's like they did the opposite of what everyone expected. It was unpredictable. That's kind of what I wanted. I wanted to be surprised, and I was surprised.
Yeah, I liked it.
Legitimate criticisms. Okay, let's talk about that. I still think the movie has a problem with trying to be funny too much. And I'm one of the guys that said give Star Wars humor back, and I'm saying this. My problem with it is it's doing the Marvel humor thing too much. You know, like the very first thing that happens in the movie, the very first thing that happens,
the first 5 minutes is humor.
You know, they've got the whatchamacallit, like, so like the ships roll up, Hux, whatever his name is like giving his like speech in the microphone, and then like Poe Dameron's doing his Tony Stark monologue by trying to be funny. It's like, no, that's not how people in Star Wars talk. Like, you're like, no, that's not.
I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna agree.
I'm not a fan of that character just because. Well, just look at how Harrison Ford was in The Force Awakens, where when he gets the he takes Chewie's crossbow for like the first time, he just decided to use it, and he was like, whoa.
Oh, he's like, yeah.
Like, that is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about, you know, acting like Marvel characters in a Marvel movie, you know, with millennial dialogue, trying to be like, you know, I don't need that in Star Wars. I'm sorry, I don't. So that's one thing I had a legitimate issue with. Do you want to head to the Trostland?
Yeah, that'll work. Trostland, there we go.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I would say. That's gonna age poorly.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Definitely agree with you 100%.
Because you'll say what you will about the old movies and even the prequels, it's like they all spoke like they were from a different time. You know what I mean? Like there was consistency there.
Yeah.
Like this was like, what would I say if I was in Star Wars? Put that in the script. You know what I mean? Like it was like, okay. Now overall I was okay with it. What else was were the complaints about? Would you say that people?
Well, you said you didn't like the humor. I'll say one of my big things was I didn't like the side questy feel of everybody else. I didn't give a shit about anything else. I just wanted to find out what happened with Luke.
Well, I'll give you this. I mean, that's just Star Wars, though. Star Wars is always different characters doing things while other characters are doing things at the same time. You know what I mean?
Let's see. Thing. I really liked how Rey didn't get any training.
You know, they kind of pulled
cool.
a fast one there. They're kind of really putting it where she's just naturally talented.
She's just a fucking badass.
Yeah.
I mean,
people have a problem with that apparently. I didn't realize
Yeah,
people calling her Mary
get it,
Sue.
You know, I really like the fact that she goes there and she's like, you know, she doesn't even say anything. She's like, you know, here's your fucking lightsaber. He fucking throws it. He's like, nah.
I think that was kind of a kind of a gesture, you know, like that was them saying, okay, this is not the movie you're expecting us to make.
Yeah, he fucking
You know,
just tosses it. Like, he doesn't give a shit. He's like, yeah, nah, I'm good. Fucking walks away. I was like, oh shit. You know, I fucking like that. One thing I really appreciated about this film was they really not explain what the Force is, but they kind of like the Force is something, whatever the screenwriters want it to be, I guess. But I like what they did with the Force.
Yeah. You know what? There's more about the movie overall that I like than I didn't like.
Yeah. Like usually it's like, what's the Star Wars math? It's like, storyline, side quest, and then a big lightsaber fight at the end. Right?
And I gotta say, I like the fight in the throne room. That was really cool.
Oh my god, that was fucking awesome.
I like the whole on the salt flats, that whole sequence on the salt flats with the broken down old speeders against the. I thought that was kind of a cool idea.
Oh yeah, on Crate.
Yeah, that was a cool idea.
That was fucking sweet.
I don't know about the whole the chase with the tauntaun looking things.
Planet?
Yeah, like that was. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go that far. I thought it looked. I liked the whole idea of like a casino planet. Honestly,
I get what they were building up. I mean, that was they wanted to. They set that up so you can go back to that later with the slave being force sensitive with the broom.
Yeah, there were little things like that that I could have done without, like the little fan things, like if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
but you know what? It wasn't bad. That stuff wasn't that bad, honestly. It's just me. I feel like the movie was a little bit longer because of it than it needed to be. It was a long movie.
It was 2.5 hours, wasn't it? Or 2 hours and 20 minutes, I'm sure like that.
I'll be honest, I thought it was over at one point, and it's like, oh no, we have a whole other battle scene to do. So,
I thought, yeah, when they reached Crate at the end. Now, as much as I loved the ending scene, which I just talked about, the reasons why, I was a little mad at something.
Hang on a sec. I'm just gonna.
Yeah. Alright. After watching the last scene, as much as I love it, like I said before, when I had time to think about it, I will say it kind of aggravated me just a little bit, because when you think about it, it was very cool what they did with Mark Hamill, but there really was no reason he couldn't have been on the planet, because the film shows you the X-Wing in the water. In the film.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Now, when the camera pans over the cliff and you see the X-Wing in the water,
yeah.
Dude, my nipples were rock solid. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna see Mark Hamill lift the fucking X-Wing. He's gonna show Rey how to lift the X-Wing. He's gonna fucking fight everybody, and and then at the end, at first I thought that's what it was. I thought Luke was really there, and I thought he fucking used the X-Wing to get there.
Right.
But that wasn't the case. I still love the ending. I still like what they did with it. I thought it was great. However, Luke really, there was no reason for him not to be there. You know what I'm saying? He could have been there. I just want to throw that out there. He had every reason where he could have been there. There's no, you know what I mean?
I guess I feel indifferent about it, if I'm being honest. I think that was a nod to him just letting it sink, and almost a reference to what happened in Dagobah, where, he actually had to get it out of there, I think that's what they were doing there. Oh crap, I'm fighting a high-value target over here. There we go.
I mean, I guess so. I guess, that's a good way to look at it.
I thought that was definitely a demonstration of his ability. Like what he can actually achieve, that these new characters aren't even in the same league when. I thought that was actually something that the movie definitely needed. They needed to show just what the new guard isn't capable of doing and the old guys are, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Leia surviving being blasted into space, like that kind of stuff. I thought that's why those scenes are there. So they make you have like a nice difference between what these angry, angsty new characters are doing. That's fair. It's fair.
That's really
See,
all
for
that
me,
was.
it was just I knew that was what was gonna happen. I was like, they're not gonna just take her out of the movie like that. That's not how they're
I
gonna
thought
do
it
it.
worked. Carrie Fisher died. I thought that's how she was gonna
That's
go.
actually something I wanted to talk about, because when I walked out, the way they have it all set up, it's like, well, now what are they gonna do? Like,
Yeah.
is this Ryan Johnson guy doing the third movie or no?
No, J.J. Abrams is.
See, he really left them like a quagmire. He's like,
left
all
them-
right, kid,
Yeah.
have fun.
Carrie Fisher fucking died. So what are you gonna? So I honestly was because I'd rather. Okay. It's unfortunate Carrie Fisher died, you know, may her rest in peace. But Leia is such an important character in Star Wars. I'd rather them kill her and I see it, rather than we load up the next movie, Episode 9, and then you hear Poe and Finn having a conversation. Oh yeah, by the way, Leia died a couple months ago on this fucking mission that we don't see. You know, like, don't kill her off screen.
Well, who
You know
knows how
what I
they're
mean?
gonna do it? Like, who knows? Who knows what's in store? They're gonna have to think of something, but
Well, I'd rather see her die. You know what I'm saying? I think that's better than hearing two characters have a conversation about her. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's just my point of view.
well, we don't know what they're gonna do. That's the thing. I did like the as a creative person, I did appreciate that little jab though. It's like, okay, JJ, you wanted to play it safe. Now you have to work for it. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I looked at it.
There were a
was
lot
like-
of fuck you JJ moments in that movie.
which were deserved. Let me get this right off my chest. I was never happy with the idea that J.J. Abrams was going to be involved with Star Wars. He was the most obviously bad choice to do it, and I was proven right when he made a safe remake of A New Hope, because that's what he's capable of doing. Okay, let's be honest here. So I appreciated all the stuff in the movie where, you know, they took what he did and then reversed it, and now now they
Here you
got
go. Fuck you, asshole. Here you go. There were so many,
on that note, that's
so many
something
moments in the
that
movie that I was, yeah, Ryan Johnson was like, fuck you, JJ. You know? Like, how the fuck are you gonna get out of this one?
yeah, he's gonna have
You know
to.
what I mean?
He's gonna have
I
to.
mean, when, now I will say, the ending scene, I knew something was up. When Luke pulled out his lightsaber and it was the blue one,
Oh yeah.
I remember when he pulled the blue one out, I literally turned over, I was like, Ash, wait a minute, what? The lightsaber's broken, like, what the fuck? Like, I knew something was up.
Yeah.
You know, and then, you know, they do the thing, and then when they cut to him floating like a fucking Shaolin monk, bro, I was like, yeah, that's fucking awesome. I fucking love, I ate that shit up, dude. I ate that shit up like a Cinnabon. That shit was awesome.
I gotta say, I showed up to the movie for Mark. I was there for Mark Hamill. That was my main thing. I wanted to be there for my boy Mark Hamill coming back to Star Wars, and that's what I showed up for, you know. And whether or not Mark Hamill likes what they did, I felt like he rocked that movie. No matter how people feel about what they did with that character, he put work in, man.
I don't understand the criticism why. What's so bad? I get it. Luke was the redemption. He was the reason that, you know, like I get it. But I don't see the, you know,
Well, people still want to have the episode 7 and 8 and 9 they imagined in, I guess, the 80s. You know what I mean? But you can't do it now. The actors are
He
older.
did
You have to
redeem his
do it.
story. He redeemed his dad. You know, he
Yeah.
tried, you know, but he says it in the film. He literally says it in like a line of dialogue. He's like, the Jedi are nothing but failed operations or whatever, the failed ideas. And he's right. The Jedi literally have fucked up over the past like 800 decades or whatever.
Even Yoda
he's
says
right. Yeah, like he, you know, like.
I'll say
he's
this
right
though.
when he thinks about it.
I'll say this. One of the criticisms I did read, or watch, I should say, on the internet after I saw the movie was how, you know, quick Luke was to consider, you know, giving up on Kylo.
Oh, and
He
killing
was-
him. And fucking killing him?
Whereas in the old movies, he went out of his way to make sure he could save his father. And it's like, no, like, it's his father. You know what I mean? Like, yes, he's his nephew, but he said himself he's seeing a darkness he's never seen. You know, he's older, he's more fallible, he doesn't know if he has it in him anymore. You know, that all went to that. So people were complaining about that. I'm like, it's not the same dude. He was a young dude.
Yeah.
You know? He's had decades to consider his choices there, you know?
Listen, everyone wanted to see Mark Hamill in a fucking Jedi robes and slaying AT-ATs. That's what it really boils down to. Everyone, everyone wanted this giant fucking huge battle.
And you know what's funny about that?
And the movie
they had
says
the
he doesn't
scene.
do it.
Well, they set the scene up. They set the scene up to do that. They did. And then right when you're like the fanboys were all waiting for that to happen, it was like, actually no, grow up. That's not what happens.
Yeah, well, Luke says it in the fucking beginning of the film. He's like, "What do you want me to fucking do? Go out with a laser sword and kill everybody?"
And I think more than anything else, that's what I liked about the movie, where it put fanboy logic in its place. Whereas A Force Awakens just kind of filleted it, and we got a very generic Star Wars movie. You know what I mean?
I like Force Awakens. I
Listen,
liked it.
it's not a bad movie. It's not a bad movie. It's not a bad movie. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's a very safe, fan-friendly movie, and that's all I'm going to say about it. This is not a fan-friendly movie. This is a attempt to do something new. Well, one thing I'll tell you this is that I don't think I need to see the third movie anymore, because it's kind of like this itself is just kind of like, how do I say it? It was just it's kind of what I wanted. I wanted to see them take a chance on something, and I got that from them, and I'm good with it.
They took a chance, alright.
I mean, it's still, you know, not gonna beat the old movies, because it's still basically fans trying to show up other fans in a lot of ways. As funny as that sounds, but hey, man, we could have got a way worse movie.
Yep.
There's an episode of South Park where Cartman, like I forgot the scenario, but he hates this one kid, Kyle, and he's like, let me drink your tears of sadness, you know, and he's like, look at his face when he's crying, you know what I mean? That's kind of how I feel a little bit to the fans with this movie. It's kind of like, yeah, bitch about it, make your blogs, make your videos on YouTube. You know, you guys need to grow the fuck up. Because it's not going to be what you want it to be. You know?
The trailer says that. That trailer being seen when Luke falls, and he's like, it's not going to go the way you think. That was Ryan Johnson, like, literally spelling it out before the movie even came out. Like, hey guys, all those theories about Mace Windu being fucking Snoke, you're a fucking bunch of idiots.
Is that what people were saying?
Dude, people were saying everything. There was a theory for fucking everything. And I never bought into it.
That makes
I
no
watched
sense.
a lot of the videos, and I appreciated it, and I thought it was really interesting the way people put things together, and, like, I thought that was cool, but I never, like, believed, like, you know, this is definitely it. Now, I will say, I honestly do kind of believe a little bit that when JJ wrote Force Awakens, he kind of planned Rey to be something. It was like he kind of set it up just to see where somebody would go with it, and then, you know, just happened to go this way.
They had to kill it. They had to take that whole, you know, someone's like a relative of someone else to move to another movie. They've been doing that with the prequels going forward. It needed to stop. It needed to stop. You can't put lightning back in the bottle on that. You know what I mean?
Well, it was kind of, I don't know. I agree with what you just said. I do believe JJ kind of was like, oh, let's see what somebody else will do with this character. Because you kind of set her up like, you know, she's got no last name, the whole parents thing, you know, it was kind of like, he kind of set it up a little bit. But I like that she's a nobody. I think it's cool.
Yeah, I think that's I'm okay with it, because it doesn't. I get very. The whole idea of her being related to someone was just making me nauseous, honestly. Thinking about it, I was like, no, please don't make that it. So it was kind of nice vindication. But who knows? Who knows? They might change it. They might be like, actually, Kylo was lying to you.
Well, we have 2 more years, so...
I did like how they...
I gotta run a tower and drop something off.
Yeah, okay.
What were you saying?
I did like how he smashed his helmet in the beginning of the movie. And I do like how... And the whole scene where Snoke's like, take that stupid thing off. You're a boy in a helmet.
Yeah, he fucking shits on him.
Yeah.
Fucking shits on him hard, buddy.
That whole movie was basically grow up fanboys. You know what I mean? And that's why people don't like it. I can tell you with absolute certainty that the next one's going to be not so great. And I'll tell you that why. Because whatever they do to explain what happens to Carrie Fisher, it's not going to go over well.
That's what I'm saying. They're gonna kill it off screen, bro. They're gonna be like, they're gonna cut to a shot of Poe and Finn. They're gonna be like, oh, remember that mission on fucking Act 2? Yeah, they didn't make it. And then they're gonna change dialogue to like some new mission they're doing. It's like, no, I wanna fucking see her fucking die.
You think they'll do some? Do you think they'll do some CGI thing?
No, because I think they already, the president of whatever the fuck Lucasfilm is.
Bless you, baby.
Already said they're not doing that.
Oh, he did say it. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Kathleen, whatever her name is. Yeah, she already said they're not doing that. But they're gonna have to kill her off the old faggot way, off screen.
They could just,
you know,
they could just also do like, you know, she's just somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
they could do that.
Well, that's the only thing they can do. That's the only thing they can do.
Or they could just kick it like Iron Man 2 style and just have a whole new actor and just act like nothing ever happened. They could just Iron Man 2 the shit out of it.
You can't do that. You can't, because listen, it's one thing to just erase Terrence Howard from something because Terrence Howard sucks and Don Cheadle's an improvement. You can't erase Carrie Fisher from... You can't do that.
I'm just fucking kidding. I'm just fucking with you.
Dude, people would riot. That would
Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
They probably, JJ would probably fucking get assassinated if he did some shit like that.
He would get assassinated, dude. Let's see what I get. Look, I got a cape. I got a helmet.
No. John F. Kennedy will get assassinated. He was assassinated. He gets shot.
That was a Chris Rock joke, wasn't it?
J.J. Abrams getting shot is not assassination. That's just getting shot.
You're right, baby. You're right, baby. Oh, it's really close to getting an engram. Hey,
that
you know...
was fun.
You wanna play Dark Souls?
I'm not gonna lie, dude. That whole time we were playing Destiny, like, I was having fun only because we were talking about Star Wars, but this game was so fucking boring.
It's so funny how quickly you turn on Destiny. It's like, yeah, man, let's go to space. Let's do space stuff. Man, fuck this game.
Can you honestly say you had the time of your life for the past 20 minutes playing? No.
I would never say that about this, ever. What I would say is that I do enjoy playing it with you.
Yeah, I enjoy playing with you.
This is the kind of game where it's low maintenance for me. I just hop on, we chat, we play, we do some quests, we get some drops, and it's here. It's here when I need it. It's not a game I'm really invested in.
I suppose you're right. Once again, you're always right, bro.
But yeah, man, I
We
say it's 11:46. Yeah, what do you want to do? I'm close to leveling up. I don't know if you want to...
If you're close, we'll just go back out. Let me just check something.
Yeah, can you find out when the update's going to happen for today?
Why don't you have your secretary behind you do that, bro?
Laurel, could you look up Destiny 2 when they're going to update the reset for today on Tuesday? Laurel's giving me the look like I actually don't give a shit about this stupid game.
I'll fucking look it up. Just give me a minute. Isn't it? It's like 12 o'clock on some other time. Where's Bungie in Washington or whatever? don't know where the fuck they're at.
Where the hell do you get
Central
alkane
Time?
dust?
Alkane?
Oh, that's in,
that DNA shit.
Yeah, can we go to
On
can we go to Titan? Can we go to Titan actually?
Yeah, we can go to Titan.
I gotta kill 30 Thrall, and I gotta get 10 alkanes.
Alright, well, let's go to Titan.
I am glad though
Small
that we're
corner.
pretty much on point with that, dude.
The rig, yeah, go to the rig. Yeah, man, we usually are when it comes to a lot of shit. I just know for me it was funny because I went and I was like, oh, okay, you know, so I Googled Star Wars and the first thing that comes up is like, fuck Mark Hamill, Star Wars ruined my life, this is the worst movie ever.
Oh my
10
god.
reasons why Mark Hamill was the worst part. You know, 10 reasons why Luke Skywalker was not in The Last Jedi and all this shit. George Lucas should have directed this all along. It's like, wow. You guys bring a whole new meaning to the word hate.
Yeah, man, you just can't please.
Nothing can be different. Nothing can be different. Just because you guys dwelled on a fucking 2-year-long conspiracy theory that Rey was Obi-Wan's cousin.
God, you're so right about that.
You know?
You're so right about that. It just people just can't help it with this
Dude,
Star
yeah.
Wars. It's
Dude,
like you have
this
this
came
that.
out, and all the YouTube
Laurel
videos
says
came
12.
out.
Laurel says 12, so she confirms what you said. So maybe while we're in Titan, it's gonna convert over.
Yeah, dude, Force Awakens came out, and then everyone made their videos on YouTube like, oh, this is all the facts that I can prove that Rey is Chris Angel's daughter, you know, like... like,
Dude,
you know, like,
there's too many scholars with Star Wars, and it's not... Like, people don't get this tight about Star Trek, because Star Trek people are chill, and they don't get worked up about this. But with Star Wars, which is supposed to be a popcorn flick about things going pew-pew and blowing up, people get like this, and I don't get it. I'll never get it.